So over the last couple of months, I've been trying different sunscreens because I am nosy, or as my mom likes to say, I'm a naturally curious person. Hello everyone, my name is Kendra and welcome back to my channel. So we're going to be talking about sunscreens that work on dark skin. So over the last couple of months, I've been trying different sunscreens because I am nosy, or as my mom likes to say, I'm a naturally curious person. And I just want to know what sunscreens work on my dark skin. Started understanding or realizing the importance of sunscreen when I started my skincare journey about 6 or 7 years ago. And one of the things that I learned in my research is how important sunscreen is when it comes to the products that you're putting on your skin, as well as preventing dark spots and discoloration on your skin tone. Also am on this journey of finding good sunscreen for me because heaven forbid if any of my key staple sunscreens should ever run out and I can't get to them, I want to be able to have options. When I walk into an Ulta, Sephora, Target, or Walmart and I need to pick up some sunscreen, I already know what works. And so that's kind of how I've started on this journey. So for reference, I use NARS light reflecting foundation in Namibia. I've also linked it down in below in my description box, so you can see where that is, or if you already know what color that is because you also use you are that shade in that foundation. Kudos to you. We are skin tones twins. But yeah, so I just wanted to give you some reference about like where I fall on the scale. So today the sunscreen are going to be 7 sunscreens that I have been using for the last month that really work well on my skin tone. Of the 7, there are going to be 2 that I've been using since I started my skincare journey. But I'm including it in the 7 because it works on my skin tone. And that's the whole purpose of this video. So the first sunscreen that we're going to be talking about today is a Black Girl sunscreen. Now, you might hear me trip up and say Black Girl Magic sunscreen, and the only reason why I say that is because my brother refers to that sunscreen as Black Girl Magic sunscreen, so I'm going to try my best not to say it, and I feel like because I've said it twice already, I'm just going to say it anyways. But Black Girl sunscreen was is one of the 2 sunscreens that I've been using since I started my skincare journey. And Black Girl sunscreen is one of the reasons why I really started to get into sunscreen again. As a child, I was traumatized, okay? The sunscreens they were making back then, and even now, or at least the ones that were available to us, did not work on my skin tone. I would have this gray, ashy, sullen face and skin whenever we would put sunscreen on when we went to the beach. And I also just hated the scent as well of sunscreen, and it just like brought back. And so I think the reason why I never really used sunscreen a lot is because I just hated the way it made me feel about myself and hated the way it made me look. And so having Black Girl sunscreen that is odorless, it doesn't have a strong sunscreen odor. If you know what I'm talking about, you know it's hard to describe it. It almost smells medicinal. So it doesn't have that scent, but it also goes on clear. And so I will constantly always pay for Black Girl sunscreen because A, it's a Black owned brand, but also it just really changed my perception of what I know and experience sunscreen to be, and I'm just like really excited about it. So like I said, the things that I love about Black Girl sunscreen is it's a Black owned company, but also it goes on completely clear. No, not completely clear. So it does come out white in the tube when you're pushing it out, but when you're rubbing it in, it does not leave a gray, ashy tone that we are all used to experiencing if you've ever had to wear sunscreen in your life before sunscreen brands became more inclusive. I also really love that the formula is very thick, and so a little goes a long way. So whenever you see me putting on Black Girl Sunscreen, I don't really put a lot because it is such a thick consistency, and you don't need a lot to give you the amount of coverage that you need. The other thing I really love about Black Girl Sunscreen is it gives me this glow. Anytime that I put on that sunscreen, I know that I'm going to get a glow. The thing I don't like about Black Girl Sunscreen is the nozzle. The nozzle is really wide for how thick the product is, which means that if you're not paying attention or you're not being careful, a lot of it comes out at once because the nozzle is so wide. And I understand why the nozzle has to be wide because it's such a thick consistency for sunscreen. But I sometimes wish that the nozzle was similar to maybe Supergoop's Unseen Sunscreen, or even Innisfree sunscreen, because their nozzles are a little thinner, making it easier for you to control the amount of sunscreen that you're squirting out of the bottle. And so for me, it's not a huge deal breaker for me because obviously I've been using this for years now. So obviously I'm going to keep doing it, but like if they are ever listening and they want to know how to improve it, not that it needs, the formula does not need to be improved at all, nothing about that, it's just the bottle. Like if you could just change the nozzle just slightly and make it easier for us to control how quickly or how much product comes out, because sometimes you don't want to use a lot just because the product is so thick and you don't need a lot. So changing the nozzle would really help make this an even better product. So the second sunscreen I'm going to talk about today is Supergoop's Unseen Sunscreen. This was the second sunscreen that I started using when I started my skincare journey, and again, similar to Black Girl Sunscreen, it really changed the way that I thought and interacted with sunscreen because it goes on completely invisible. Like, so it comes out invisible and it goes on completely invisible. And so Supergoop has a customer for life, because honestly, there's not a lot that I can say that I don't like about Unseen Sunscreen. Also, nothing compares to Unseen Sunscreen. I have not found another sunscreen that works as well as Unseen. And here's why. So Unseen Sunscreen is completely unscented. Like, I don't ever smell anything, and I'm scent sensitive. So that means that whenever I have like strong odors, it triggers a migraine for me. There's not even a hint of a scent in Unseen Sunscreen, which is what I absolutely love. And I also love that, again, like I said, it comes out invisible, clear, and it goes on clear. So like, there is no residue at all. And I also love Unseen Sunscreen because it's a matte sunscreen. So when you put it on, it basically mattes you up like a primer. Now, do I use it as a primer? No. Whenever I put on Unseen Sunscreen, I always add a primer on top of that. And I know some people do use it as a primer for their makeup, but I add a second primer just because I want to. Not to say that you have to, but I want to. Gun to my head, if I had to pick today what sunscreen to use for the rest of my life, it would be Unseen Sunscreen, because it, like, nobody does it like Unseen Sunscreen. Nobody. I have not seen. Now, granted, I've only used 7 so far. Tried 7. I haven't tried everything, and there's a lot of sunscreens out there, but all of the ones that I've used, ain't nobody compares to Unseen Sunscreen. So I just like hyped up Unseen Sunscreen, but there is one thing that I could do without. And so I think it was last year or a couple of years ago, they came out with a jumbo size. The jumbo size, my friends, is 2.5 fluid ounce for $48. Yes, you heard that right. 2.5 fluid ounce for $48 as a jumbo size. Do I know that 2.5 fluid ounce is not a jumbo size? Absolutely. Will I continue to pay $48 for this jumbo size? Absolutely. Because like I said, nobody is touching unseen sunscreen on this. And I'm gonna stand on it. So when they make a real jumbo size of unseen sunscreen and it's like $100, I'm gonna pay for that too. Next sunscreen that I'm going to talk about with you today is Paula's Choice. Paula's Choice Youth Extending Daily Hydrating Fluid is one of the newer sunscreens that I started incorporating into my, or just to review. And so I love Paula's Choice BHA, so I knew that their sunscreen would probably work well for me because it's Paula's Choice. I bought the travel size because I didn't want to spend full price for something that doesn't work for my skin. Like I'm not doing that. Paula's Choice goes on clear. It's not invisible like unseen sunscreen where it comes out clear. It does still come out white. It rubs in with leaving no gray cast, no ashy tone, none of that. Also, it doesn't really have a strong scent for me. So again, it's an extra bonus for me for that. Paula's Choice is actually a thin consistency, and so with the thin consistency it also has a very thin nozzle, making it easy for you to control how it comes out. That I don't necessarily like is just how thin it actually is. Because the formula is so thin, it almost feels like watery. I mean, it basically is a watery sunscreen. And so like if you're not, while the nozzle is great, if you're not paying attention and you didn't know from the jump that it was a watery sunscreen, it comes out really fast. And so if you don't necessarily prefer a watery, very liquidy sunscreen, then Paula's Choice is not for you. I don't know if I'm gonna buy the full size for Paula's Choice sunscreen just because I don't necessarily care for the formula. Like the formula is too thin for me. I would prefer something a little thicker. The next sunscreen we're talking about today is Tula's Protect and Glow. I am obsessed with their cleanser, their foaming cleanser. It's amazing. When they came out with a sunscreen a couple of years ago, I was like, I'm gonna try that too. I also, with this, again, it goes on, does not leave a gray cast, but it does leave a glow that I love. And again, any sunscreen that makes me look like I'm glowing, I will always take. The nozzle is thin. It's not as thin as Paula's Choice nozzle, but it's the right amount of size for the consistency of their product. Tula's Protect and Glow is probably in between Paula's Choice and Black Girl sunscreen. It's like the perfect consistency, and there is this, the texture is a little, well, there's not really a texture to it, that's not the right word, but it looks like there's it's like this tan-ish color that comes out of it, and I was actually a little concerned about it when it came out. I was just like, now what's gonna happen with this? Does not leave a gray cast. Now, I will say though that because of the glow that it gives, it does kind of there's a slight tint to it when you put it on. And so like the tint isn't crazy. It doesn't look like it doesn't match my skin tone. So that was very important for me. But it also is like, if you're not really into the tint that's happening with Tula, then that might not be for you. So the next sunscreen we're talking about is Innisfree Daily UV sunscreen. People have been raving about this. I feel like this is one of the viral sunscreens that's been on TikTok. It's $16. And so like, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna try that. And I will say that this is probably the only sunscreen that I don't have a but to it. It's literally perfect. 10 out of 10 would recommend. The consistency, it goes on clear, gives me a glow. The price, Like everything is good, and I highly recommend it. The consistency, I would put it in between Tula's and Paula's Choice, so it's not too thin, but like I love the nozzle, I love everything about this product, and I highly recommend it. No buts here. The next product we're going to be talking about is Shiseido. And if I butchered that pronunciation, please forgive me. This is based on Google. I asked Google to help me with the pronunciation, and this is what she said. I love, 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 love this sunscreen. The color of the product comes out a little tan. There's no tint to it at all. Gives you a slight glow, which again I love. I've talked about this in all the products we just talked about. And it goes on clear, so there is no residue, no grays here, no ashiness, nothing. It goes on perfect. Now I will say the consistency is a little thin. The nozzle makes it really easy to control the thin product as it comes out, and it's perfect. I love it, love it, love it. I will say the but here for me is there is a slight scent to it. Now it's not strong enough that it triggers my migraines, but if you do have sensitive skin, you might think about this when it comes to putting on the product. But it is a good scent. I really do like the scent of it, and it feels good on my skin, and it didn't break me out, so I have no issues with the scent. But I am going to raise it for those who may not like scented products when it comes to putting things on their face. The final sunscreen we're going to talk about here today is a fairly new sunscreen. I just discovered this. I think this is like new to the market as well, and it is Kiehl's Better Seen UV Serum. I use their moisturizer, which we'll always have used for a very long time, and I figured like if their moisturizer is good, their sunscreen is going to be good, and I was correct in that. I would put it on a scale. I would say actually it's probably the same consistency as Shiseido. It's probably just the right amount, and so I bought the trial size here, and so the nozzle is very thin as well, which is great because it works perfect for their consistency, make it easy to squeeze out the product and get the control how much comes out. So the product color is white, but it goes on quite clear, no grays, no tints, nothing. It goes on great. There's no scent to it, and it gives me a natural glow. I will say that I don't necessarily love how thin the product is. Again, I'm used to the moisturizer, so I thought that, you know, with them coming out with a sunscreen, that the consistency would be a little thicker, but hey, it still works for my dark skin, and I am going to use this until I empty the product. Whether or not I will repurchase it again, I'm not sure, but I do love this glow that I get, and I also really love the brand itself. So kudos to you, Kiehl's, for coming out with a new sunscreen, or coming out with a sunscreen that works for me. So I want to hear from y'all, and I want to know if you agree with some of the things that I said, the things that I raved about, the caveats that I raised. Let me know in the comments if you've used any of these products, how it fared with your skin, and if you agree that it works well on dark skin. So thank you again for joining me today as I take you on this journey to discover what sunscreen products worked well for my dark skin. I will be coming out with another because I just ordered some more sunscreens, so cannot wait to try those new ones. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give me a thumbs up or subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for stopping by. So for reference, I use NARS Light Reflecting Foundation, and I am the color.
Help me, I'm dying.
I actually collaborated with Tula years ago